Let's start the class. This is going to be a interactive session like all my classes. So this class going to be on transplant critical care. On the first part, we kind of addressed organ donation and announcing like brain death and assessments and so on. So this class is going to be on organ donation, immunosuppression, and its treatment. This is going to be kind of orientation towards EDIC Part 1 exam. I'm going to be like MCQ based teaching. We will solve MCQs together with some relevant theory behind that. And yeah, check your answers according to the European and UK standards. And some ground rules, let's keep it interactive. I depend on your interaction for the class to move forward. So what I will do is I will put the question and I expect you to answer your options like A, B, C, D. Put that in the chat, then we can have a discussion around that topic. Okay. And yeah, pretty much that's it. Please feel free to stop anywhere and ask any questions or any doubts if you have. So today we are going to focus on solid organ transplants, hematopoietic stem cell transplant, transplant immunosuppression, post-transplant infections, and organ transplant related complications specific to each organ. This slide focuses on how the T cell is suppressed and what are the variable targets we have. So whenever a patient has a transplant, so your antigen presenting cells, which are like kind of your innate immunity, uh, gets the antigen from those transplanted organ and presents it to your T cell. And T cells have like several receptors, T cell receptors and various CD receptors, which attract these antigen presenting cells, and the inflammatory cascade is started. So the key factors involved are the NF80 nuclear factor of activated T cells, and which needs your calcineurin to be active. Then this in turn promotes your IL-2 gene to be activated and produced. So which of the following is the most commonly used induction agent in kidney transplant recipients at high immunological risk? Option A, basiliximab. Option B, ATG. Option C, alemtuzumab. Option D, rituximab. Okay, some of you have said option A, some of you said option B. Anyone else? There is option D coming as well. Fine. So the correct answer for this is uh, antithymocyte globulin. So a bit more about calcineurin inhibitors. So these are our backbone of immunosuppression, as I said. They inhibit calcineurin, which helps NF80 factor to produce IL-2 by the transcription process by moving into the nucleus from the cytoplasm. And we monitor the tacrolimus levels or cyclosporin levels for that matter because they are really toxic agents. And for example, with kidney transplant patients, if the tacrolimus level is over target range, it can itself cause nephrotoxicity. So that's going to like counterproductive for our purpose. So we need to monitor the tacrolimus levels very closely, sometimes daily till the level is achieved. Once it's like stable, then we can do it like increase the frequency of how frequently we are testing, like weekly once or once in a fortnight or once in a month, like that, if it's becoming more and more stable. So next question. The lung transplant recipient on tacrolimus is started on oriconazole for invasive aspergillosis. What is the expected effect on tacrolimus levels? No change, significant decrease in levels, so requiring dose increase, significant increase requiring dose reduction and close monitoring, unpredictable effect. What do you think? Yeah, most of you are correct. It is option C. That's because it's a CYP inhibitor. Oriconazole is one of the azoles, so it is an inhibitor of the enzyme which metabolizes tacrolimus. So the tacrolimus levels are going to go up. So you need to reduce the dose and also monitor it closely till it achieves a stable. Kidney transplant recipient on tacrolimus presents on postoperative day 10 with headache, seizure, visual disturbances, and confusion. So you do an MRI and it's showing bilateral parieto-occipital white matter vasogenic edema. So what is the most likely diagnosis? CNS lymphoma, progressive multifocal leukoencephalopathy, posterior reversible encephalopathy syndrome, cerebral aspergillosis. Yeah. So this is a typical presentation of posterior reversible encephalopathy syndrome, headaches, seizure, visual disturbances. So it predominantly affects your occipital lobes. So that's why it causes visual disturbances, and it is a known complication of tacrolimus. So you should be aware of that.